There is a city in the world where the water never truly leaves you alone. It sneaks between the buildings. It glitters at the end of every narrow street. It whispers under every bridge. You are not just visiting a capital today. You are stepping into an archipelago that breathes in and out, slowly, like someone who has long since made peace with time. This is Stockholm, and today, every cobblestone, every canal, every gust of Baltic wind belongs entirely to you. Close your eyes for just a moment. Picture 14 islands knitted together by water and iron bridges. A city that refused to be built on solid ground because it understood, long before anyone else did, that the most beautiful things in life are always a little precarious, always balanced on the edge of something vast. Open your eyes now. The light here is not like light anywhere else. It arrives cautiously, like a guest who is not sure they were invited, and then it stays far longer than expected, pouring itself across rooftops and water until you wonder if the sun has simply decided it cannot bear to leave. Today is your day. 24 hours. Let us not waste a single second of it. Your alarm goes off at 6 in the morning, but the city has already been awake for a while. Stockholm in the early hours carries a particular kind of stillness that is not emptiness. It is more like held breath, like the pause before a piece of music begins. Pull on your warmest layer and walk outside. The streets of Stockholm are still damped from last night, and your footsteps echo against the stone in a way that makes you feel like the only person in a film who knows the plot. Head north, toward the water. You want to reach Monteliusvägen before the morning crowd finds it. This elevated walkway traces the cliff edge of Stockholm, and as you climb those last few steps and turn to face the view, something happens that no travel guide can properly prepare you for. The entire old town, Gamla Stan, unfolds across the water directly in front of you. Its amber and ochre facades still heavy with the night's silence. And above it all, the sky is beginning to do something extraordinary. The darkness does not simply disappear. Heat pulse, bike, layer by layer, from the deepest indigo. At the horizon's edge, two of pale, almost transparent gold that spreads like warm breath across cold glass. The water below catches every shift in color and multiplies it, so that you are no longer looking at one sunrise but at countless versions of it, rippling and shimmering beneath you. Feel the cold against your face. Let it remind you that you are completely, undeniably awake. Now you need coffee. Not hotel coffee. Not chain coffee. Real coffee. Make your way down from the viewpoint and walk into the winding streets until you find a conditori, one of those small Swedish bakeries that smell of cardamom from half a block away. The Swedes have a word fika, and it is one of those words that resists exact translation because it is not just about coffee or pastry. It is about the deliberate act of pausing, of deciding, in the middle of everything, that this moment deserves your full attention. Order a kanelbuller, a cinnamon roll that is nothing like the ones you have had before. It is denser, less sweet, more honest. The cardamom hits the back of your throat like a memory you did not know you had. Wrap your hands around your cup. Breathe. This is your first real moment in Stockholm, and you are doing it exactly right. By mid-morning, the city has shifted. The stillness has given way to motion. Cyclists weave through morning traffic with the casual confidence of people who have never considered any other way to travel. Trams glide along their rails with a low, satisfied hum. You are going to Gamla Stan now, the old town, and you are going to enter it the way it deserves to be entered. On foot, across Riksbron Bridge, letting the water pass beneath you on both sides so that the island receives you properly. The moment you step onto the cobblestones of Gamla Stan, the city's timeline shifts. The streets here are medieval, narrow enough that two people must turn sideways to pass each other in some places, and the buildings pressing close on either side. Their painted walls faded to the most beautiful shades of rust, gold, terracotta, and dusty pink. Look up. Notice how the upper floors seem to lean slightly toward each other overhead, as if the buildings have been whispering to one another for so long that they have physically tilted in. Find Emme, Riten Trotsix, Ga, and it is the narrowest alley in Stockholm, barely 90 centimeters across. At its tightest point, and it descends in a series of worn stone steps between walls so close you could touch both simultaneously if you spread your arms. Walk down it slowly. Listen to how the sound changes as the walls close in around you. The city noise above and behind you softens, and for a moment there is only the sound of your own breathing and the faint drip of moisture from the stones. This is what old cities give you, if you know where to look. Pockets of absolute intimacy in the middle of the crowd. Emerge onto Västerlinggatan and let yourself drift. Stortorget, the great square at the heart of Gamla Stan, is waiting for you, and when you find it, stop. The buildings surrounding it date back to the 15th and 16th centuries. Their facades painted in shades that seem almost impossibly warm against the Nordic sky. Stand here and let the weight of what you are standing in settle over you. In 1520, this square witnessed one of the darkest episodes in Scandinavian history, when the Danish king Christian II ordered the execution of Swedish noblemen whose bodies were left in this very space. The square carries no obvious memorial to this. It has simply absorbed it, the way very old places absorb everything. Quietly, completely, without drama. You are hungry now, and Stockholm is ready for you. Find a traditional Swedish restaurant and order kedbu, not because it is the expected tourist choice, but because in their original context, served with lingonberry jam, creamy brown gravy, and soft, buttery boiled potatoes. They tell you something true about this country. Swedish cuisine was built around preservation and practicality, around making the most of what the land and the cold provided. Take your first bite and notice the teari tart, almost aggressively so, cutting through the richness of the meat with a precision that feels intentional. Because this is the Swedish palate, an instinct for balance, for the clean note after the heavy one, for the window thrown open after the fire has been burning too long. Take the ferry jug from Gamla Stan. It costs nearly nothing and gives you a few minutes on the water, which is enough. Watch the city from the ferry deck. Watch how it arranges itself differently from every angle. How the islands reorganize themselves depending on where you are standing. How the water holds the light and gives it back changed. You are going to Djurgården, Stockholm's great island of culture and forest. Your first stop is Skansen, the world's oldest open-air museum, established in 1891. It sits on a hill and spreads across 75 acres of parkland, containing more than 150 historic Swedish buildings relocated from across the country. Farmsteads, windmills, a 19th century town quarter, craftspeople working with techniques that have barely changed in 300 years. Stop and watch the glassblower. Watch the silversmith. Buy a small piece of something handmade and warm it in your palm. Your second stop is Vasa Museet, and it will ask something of you emotionally that you may not expect. The Vasa is a warship that sank in Stockholm harbor in 1628 on its maiden voyage. It sailed less than 1 mile before a gust of wind tilted it, and water poured through its open gun ports, and it went down in full view of the crowds assembled to cheer it. It lay on the harbor floor for 333 years before being raised in 1961, almost perfectly preserved by the cold, low salinity waters of the Baltic. When you walk in and see it for the first time, all 69 meters of it rising above you in the dimness, your body responds before your mind does. Read the small plaques about the crew. Think about the people who built it with their hands, who polished its carved figures, who climbed its rigging the morning it launched, full of a pride that the sea extinguished within the hour. Let yourself feel that. It is worth feeling. Now it is late afternoon, and the light is beginning to do what Stockholm light does best. It is turning gold, not the pale, uncertain gold of morning, but a deep, saturated, almost amber light that seems to come from within the stones and the water rather than from the sky. Make your way to Riddarholmen, a small island just west of Gamla Stan. It is quieter than the old town, almost no shops, very few tourists, and from its western shore you can look out across the water toward Stockholm, the island where you began your morning. The light is coming in from the southwest now, landing on the water in a way that makes it look as though someone has poured copper across the surface. Sit here, or stand. Or stand. Do whatever your body needs, but do not look at your phone. Give these minutes to the city. The old church spire of Riddarholmen rises behind you, its iron spire pointing at the sky with a medieval solemnity that feels out of time. The water moves. A boat passes, unhurried. Someone on a balcony across the water lights a lamp, and you watch the small warm square of it appear in the gathering dusk like a signal. If this moment moves you, then there is a very good chance that it will hold on to it. This is exactly why you travel. And if this is the kind of journey you want to keep taking with us, now is the perfect moment to subscribe and leave us a like. Because this is what we do here, together. We find these moments, we sit inside them, and we bring you along. Evening in Stockholm comes in slowly, like a tide rather than a curtain. You should eat dinner somewhere in Gistermum, Stockholm's most elegant district, and you should order something from the sea. Sweden's relationship with the ocean is intimate and ancient. Gravlax cured with deal and salt, smoked Baltic herring layered with sour cream and chives. Order a glass of aquavit. If you drink, it arrives ice cold in a small glass, and it smells of caraway in summer and something else you cannot quite name. Something northern and clean and final. Hold it up and look at the light through it, then drink it in one go, the way the Swedes do. After dinner, walk. There is no agenda now. No landmark you must find. Stockholm at night is meant to be felt rather than documented. The windows of the apartment buildings glow warmly, and through them you occasionally catch the brief, intimate theater of someone's domestic life. A person reading by a lamp, two people talking over dishes, a child carried from room to room. The Swedes have a word, mysig, which means something between cozy and intimate and perfectly warm, and it describes exactly what Stockholm looks like from the outside on a clear, cold night. Cross Djurgårdsbron. One more time, slowly. The water below you is black and still, and it carries the reflections of the bridge lamps in long, trembling columns of gold. Stop in the middle of the bridge and lean against the railing. Feel the cold iron under your palms. Listen. There is the water. There is the distant sound of the city breathing. There is, somewhere, the low horn of a late ferry. And there is the particular silence of a day that has given you everything it had and is now, gently, letting you go. This is where 24 hours in Stockholm leaves you. Standing on a bridge between islands, between history and now, between the day that just happened and the sleep that is waiting. You walked cobblestones laid 600 years ago. You tasted cardamom in the morning cold. You stood in the presence of a ship that has been sleeping underwater longer than most nations have existed. You watched a sunset turn copper water into something that felt, for a few minutes, like proof that beauty is not accidental, that it is built, slowly, from stone and water and light and time. Stockholm will not let you leave unchanged. That is, its quiet power. It does not overwhelm you with noise or scale. It simply keeps revealing itself, one narrow alley and one shimmering canal at a time, until you realize that you have been completely undone by something that never once raised its voice. Tomorrow, somewhere else is waiting, and I have a question for you to carry with you as you fall asleep tonight. If Stockholm's beauty lives in the space between the water and the stone, between the silence and the city, what other quiet, precise, unhurried city is hiding that same secret? Where should we go next?